So let's talk about the election in the United States because that is a very important topic right at the moment. And before I go any further, though, I was just like to say that, in my opinion, democracy is bullshit. It's the most ridiculous political system next to communism, which is also incredibly ridiculous. Neither one of these political systems have proven to be at all useful to the people, but definitely do support the elite, those upper 1% of the global population, many of whom aren't even human beings. I'll show you a photograph of a couple of them, definitely, who are not human beings. Democracy is a top-down tyranny of the masses, and the masses are very easily persuaded or led by the nose using the news media or the Jews media. Indeed, six corporations, Jew-owned, control most of the news on the planet. And there are lots of videos out there showing you very clearly news readers around the world all reading from the same script. It's quite remarkable, actually. So now here we have this situation in the United States where electronic voting machines, which the very idea of using some sort of computer internet linked system to register votes is ridiculous, first of all, because that's so easily hacked. And the mail-in ballots and all of that. The entire system that was constructed over time, which really is, how things evolve in democracies, in demonocracies, a top-down tyranny of the masses. Indeed, what happens is that the tentacles of the international parasite get into all these systems, if you will, and here we now have overt evidence that these electronic machines in the United States were indeed hacked, and the files were being read in foreign countries. And now it's come to light that the Dominion voting machines that were used in a number of the states were indeed connected to China, which has been making steady inroads towards taking over North America and subjecting us all to the yoke of that Oriental reptilian communism, wherein people disappear and while alive their organs are harvested, for example, as what goes on in China routinely with human beings that the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, doesn't agree with. Demonocracy got a whole lot of people into positions of power in our countries, and these are people that are connected to Satanists, to the international parasite that is hell-bent upon taking over the planet and has been using whatever means it can use to affect its nefarious plan that's something in the making for 3,000 years or more. The eventual takeover of planet Earth by a very small group of hive-minded chameleon aliens that have no soul, heartless, and those are the creatures that make up the Democratic Party, apparently, and of course are the individuals, the entities responsible for groups like Antifa and burn, loot, murder, Black Lives Matter, yeah, and such like. But anyway, so here we have this contested election in which the Jews media is trying to make it that Joe Biden, a demented, creepy person who should have been put in jail a very long time ago, who spent 48 years in government and has never achieved anything except slimy, traitorous contracts with a foreign enemy. And indeed, his entire family is apparently a crime family, just like the Bush family is a crime family, just as the Clinton family is a crime family. So many crime families that are at the top of the Democratic dung heap. And it is time that that dung heap be cleared out, and the swamp be drained. The swamp in Washington, district of criminals, is so thick you can walk on it. And so, yeah, all those lily pads that those gigantic fat frogs are croaking on, yeah, we're going to make them have to croak and make a final croak and then be done with them. I really do believe that a lot of these traitorous criminals, who in fact are obviously traitors, have committed an act of horror, an act of criminal malfeasance, an act of severe crime against the people of the United States, collaborating with a foreign enemy, indeed a foreign enemy that is reptilian by nature. Indeed, if you haven't read Ralph Townsend's book, Ways That Are Dark, The Truth About China, it was published in, I think, 1937 or so, before political correctness rotted people's brains out, and of course became ever more willing victims of demonocracy. If you read that book, you would quickly wonder, well, what the heck were we doing with, say, under Nixon in the United States at the time, and under Trudeau, Pierre Trudeau, the supposed father of this psychopath that's presently the Prime Minister of Canada. Connections were established with China, and a whole lot of our trade and commerce went to China, and now look at the benefits that we're reaping from that. Yeah, this is a winter of discontent that is coming, and this election business in the United States obviously proves that the only way, if we are going to accept demonocracy as a system that we want to live by, the votes have to be on paper, they have to be registered, you have to show up with an identification card clearly showing your face in a photograph and your details to prove that you are in fact a citizen of the state in which, or the province in which you are voting. And polls open at 9 o'clock in the morning and close at 10 on a specific day that is called voting day. A week prior, people may, if they are living in other countries, vote by sending in a ballot that they've registered with the consul or embassy of the Canada or, say, United States, and that is a registered ballot that's then sent by registered mail, and they can to a counting center, and everything is overseen by both by all the parties. The fact there's only basically two parties, again, that's insanity, that people have become so totally polarized, and again it shows you how ridiculous democracy is. 51% people voting for something outvote 49%. So now we have 49% stuck with a decision that that's not agreed on, and but basically becomes a yoke under which many people, in some cases, suffer horribly because the decisions of the majority are generally not all that good for the rest of us, oftentimes. And the majority tend to be essentially people who are not all that advanced. Indeed, they are the normal people. They are the status quo people. They're the people who basically accepted everything they were given in the public fool system as hard facts and should never have been questioned. And of course, these are the people that are very easily manipulated by the news media, led by the nose to the voting booth and told where to place the X. Yeah, and as we've seen, fake news in the world has led to a debacle in the United States that nobody should be in any hurry to complete in favor of Joe Biden. Because it's absolutely insane to suggest that Joe Biden won that election, or that anybody connected with the Democrats won anything anywhere, because it has all come to light. Just as always happens, the entity pushes too far. They're so full of hubris. They think they're so smart. They think that they are the chosen and can do no wrong, and yet they screw up all the time, and now the whole world knows. And so it's just a matter of time now. We'll see which way the pendulum swings. But you must recognize that Donald Trump has been seen wearing a yarmulke. His daughter Ivanka converted to Talmudic Judaism. Well, that is Judaism, Talmud Judaism, communism, Satanism, it's all connected. Judaism is not a race, because if it was, then Ethiopians couldn't be Jews because they're black and they don't look at all like these Khazarians, who in fact are the race that is largely Jewish. Yeah, they converted to Talmudic Judaism in the 8th century. Those people, the Khazarians, and then they moved into Poland and Russia as eventually the people the surrounding Khazaria eventually had it with those blood-sucking parasites and sent them packing. And those are what comprises essentially 99% of what it calls itself Jewish, the Ashkenazi. And they have, various subgroups. In fact, if you go to my series Satan's Children in BitChute, you will see what I mean there about that group. And they're the ones behind all this nonsense with regard to the election in the United States. Elections now, obviously everywhere that these Dominion voting machines have been utilized. The whole thing is now thrown into question. Indeed, it's evident that there are people in governments around the world that got there because of the manipulation of these machines, the tampering with the data. And the fact that in this particular case in the United States, the fight between Mr. Trump and Mr. Biden, it is really unfortunate that so much money, so much effort has to be spent now to bring out these affidavits and to bring them before courts. And it is so insane to me to see how much power these justices have, these judges in the various courts in the United States. It's a very convoluted legal system with all these district courts and so on and so forth. But the whole legal industry is convoluted, it being admiralty law and under the purvey of the international parasite by and large. And of course, for us Gentiles, for we Gentiles, yeah, that's not so much in our favor, and many of us do fall a victim. Anyway, just to wrap up on this little chat regarding the election in the United States. It's weird to me how the moment someone's elected there, or anywhere really, politicians immediately already start to campaign for the next election 4 years hence. And then all throughout the 4 years that they are supposed to be doing their government work, a good part of it is spent campaigning and generating funds, holding their hands out and begging for people to give them alms so that they can spend another 4 years at the public trough. Pretty good life, actually, the life of an upper echelon politician. I mean, you think of it, if you're, say, a senator, you get to live in a mansion, and you get all kinds of people paying deference to you, and, they drive you around in a fancy limousine, you get to fly in helicopters, and you get to, okay, yes, you know what you get to do when you are someone like that, and how women respond to power. Yeah, it's all so corrupt. It's all so totally satanic. And ideally, as I said, a few weeks before the actual date of the election, when people go to vote, the foreigners have time. 2 weeks should be all they need, is to go to an embassy or a consul, or to find an American or Canadian, say, government representative, depending on the election, and have them witness a ballot, and sign it, and it's documented, and it's mailed in to Elections Canada or whatever the similar system is in the States, by registered mail in time. And then there is a day, that is the voting day. Like I say, polls open generally 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock, depends on how lazy the public workers are, the volunteers and so on. In my opinion, if the polls should open at 5 in the morning, I mean, that's a decent time to get up, and open at 5 and let it go on till 10 at night. So people have a lot of time all day to come down and vote. Make it a fun time. If you may have a, coffee machine there, for example, have people, mill about in the lobby and so forth, and talk for a bit, or whatever, debrief. I mean, it's a public event, and it should be very transparent, and so the ballots are all totally on paper, and they're totally in secret, and it's all totally overseen, and the ballots go in a box, and the boxes are emptied out, and they are tallied up under strict supervision, and then the election is called by midnight generally. That's how it ought to be, and there should not be any prolonged aftermath. I mean, that is the whole point of having a day, voting day, not voting month or voting year, or voting, well, we'll figure out till we figure it out. No, it's all so wrong. And Mr. Trump, as President of the United States, it's not like running a corporation, but it is a corporation. And so, if I was President of the United States, I'd seriously be putting my foot down and say, listen, we are going to stop this whole thing right now. And, my executive order is that we are going to have a new election, and it's going to be completely on paper and honest and counted by hand, and it will be a 2 months hence, say, hold it in February, and then redo the whole thing, and then this time do it fairly and squarely. and no hand feeding, Mr. Biden, or no holding back on exposing the camel, Humphrey right to the top, who I'm referring to. All of it. These people are satanic, and they don't really actually belong on the planet altogether, but we do have to sort of have them with us for the time being. But in my opinion, all those traders need to be arrested immediately, put in jail, and tried for treason, and those found guilty need to be hanged for their crime. And then while we're at it, we should do the same with all these criminals that have been pushing the COVID tyranny. Again, we know who the perpetrators are, and now they should be brought to justice for the harm that they have perpetrated, the many people who have died, committed suicide, whose businesses have been killed, whose children are starving. It's all totally the agenda of the international communists, the international parasite, who is trying desperately now to realize a dream it's had for over 3,000 years. So because there are more of us than them, we now have an opportunity to finally stop it once and for all with a final solution. Skirchen Zwiglar, over and out.